Hello people. Today I'm going to be breaking down the first short film that I shot. I was the cinematographer of this short film back in 2022, which feels like it's a lot longer ago than it really was. Like I feel like I've been doing this longer than I have, but that's okay. But this short was called Animus, directed by Emma, my good friend. And boy, it was a struggle to get through, but we did it, we made it. Am I proud of it? Yeah, I'm proud of it. I don't know how to answer that question really. There are a lot of things that I would do a lot different now. And there are a lot of things that I think I did really well. And given how little actual experience I had when I shot this film, I mean, this is like middle of film school, so I can't be too hard on myself. And I think some parts of it look good. But yeah, I'm gonna watch through it and we will break it down together. So here we go. So right off the bat, this scene with this artist, we shot all of her apartment shots on a different day than everything else, obviously. And something I did for this whole short is I shot each segment with a different set of lenses, which was A, out of necessity, because our school equipment room, you could never really guarantee what you were gonna get, and B, just because I thought it would be interesting. Now, the color on these segments, I'm not the happiest with. It feels a little flat for this apartment scene, but live and learn, right? Let's continue. Okay. This shot, I was pretty happy with on the day. I think it kind of holds up. It kind of feels like moonlight coming through the window with this blue. And how I achieved this, normally what I would do for this now would be just a hard blue light and then hold a branch in front of it, wiggle it around, a brancholoris if you will. But for this shot, we used a projector, because it was what we had. The apartment we were shooting in was the director's apartment, and she had a projector handy. And for some reason I thought it would be cool. Even though technically, I think canonically, this shot takes place during the day. So why would there be blue light coming through a window, through trees? I don't know. That's what we went with. I think it still looks kind of cool. It's a funnish shot. I don't know. You can see that the frame rate of the projector is different than what we're shooting at, so there's a little jitter. Classic student film trope is the fucking record spinning on the record table. Wow, there's music. It's been, oh my gosh, the music was diegetic the whole time. That's crazy. But this shot that I've paused on here, I'm still kind of proud of this shot. I don't know if I would use proud. Proud might not be the right word. But I think all the texture is really lovely. This light coming through this funky window in the door, casting these almost hard shadows on her face. I think it plays really nicely, and we get this lovely sparkle in the eyes from that hard light going straight at her face from camera side, really, which like normally that doesn't work at all. But this lovely tungsten light coming through this window, I think it still plays nicely.
Professor.
Thank you for coming on such short notice.
Right.
I was thrilled when you reached
the
out.
shadow. Okay, this is the beginning of me not knowing what soft light is. I knew what it was, and for a lot of this short, I did use soft light, but let's rewind. This short we shot in 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 days have 72 total hours in them, right? Of those 72 hours, we were shooting for 50 hours that weekend. That's absurd and should be illegal. I think it is illegal if you're paying people. None of us were getting paid because we were all students. But 50 of 72 hours, leaving 12 total hours of sleep between 3 days. Really just the two nights in between the 3 days, right? 12 total hours of downtime, mind you. That is not a 12-hour turnaround. That is a 6-hour turnaround each day, 3 days in a row. That's absurd and should not happen. But it did, and frankly, we got through it. My point being, I knew what soft light was, but a lot of times I relied on hard light even on actors' faces, which should typically be a no-no. But I was breaking the rules, and you can see it on this man's face because the shadow from the glasses, you can see that shadow. You can see the shadow from his chin hitting his neck, which is not what you want typically. Also, the smoke in this scene is way overdone. Like, he's just puffing this pipe like crazy. For the pipe, we just stuffed the pipe with oregano. Fun trick. Had us all hacking because it smells like shit. Here we have more camera side light. For this, I essentially hung a shower curtain from a pair of C-stands and then blasted a tungsten light fixture into it and just bounced it all around the room. I had a nice hard backlight on her. I forget where I hid that. I hid it somewhere. It's fine. It's all camera side. I would have probably put it more to the left of frame so that we get a little bit of shape. We have some shape. You can see some shadow on her. This is the first of many wheelchair dolly shots in this film. You see this like slow track from right to left, which can be really lovely, but it's on a wheelchair. It's me sitting in a wheelchair. If I find the photo, I'll show it. There's a shot that got cut that has this behind the scenes photo from this short where it's me in a wheelchair and I'm just camera on shoulder being pushed, you know, which is a lovely trick for all of you people with no money like myself who are making movies. Moving on. So much thought went into this painting shot. I don't know why. I don't know what it's saying. I don't remember. Man, she just leaves that light. See, I would love for her to stay in that spot of light. And like we have him just getting blasted from the side with this hard light. And she like lands in this nice pool of light. And then she leaves it and it's gone. And I would have loved to keep her silhouetted from that light, but she just walks into the shadow, which is fine. Whatever.
Oh, do you two work together now?
God, the lamp swinging in this shot makes no fucking sense.
Tate was one of my most
Not at all.
successful candidates with this study.
Okay, now we're getting weird. I need you to turn off your brain and don't think about what's happening because this is more of like a visual experience than a very plot-driven short. Yeah, let's just continue. This shot that I've paused on here, it's lit by entirely a shitty, it's a newer LED panel suspended above her head, probably just on C-stand, just boomed over her. And then all of these practical little battery-powered lights in this helmet apparatus. Okay, here we go. Here's yet another wheelchair shot with a hidden cut. So that you just saw, we're now on the main location. We were shooting in this church. And it's a really cool building, which I think pulled some very heavy weight throughout this whole short film. And for that first half of this hidden cut shot where we are pushing in and then around the actor, I was essentially just blasting all of the tungsten fixtures we had, because this was all tungsten. Tungsten and then the couple little LEDs that I had at the time. But I was just blasting them through these stained glass windows, which create, it's like they almost softened it because they were opaque rather than just clear. So it's like almost soft light, but they're so far away from her that it's still kind of hard light. And then we transition into this long take. And this long take cost us probably 5 hours. And it was not what we were gonna do originally, but someone had the idea to do a big long take, and everyone was like, yeah, we'll do a oneer, because we're all film students. We're like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. And it ended up taking way too long because I had to light the whole thing, and we did not have the right tools for this job. And frankly, if I were doing it today, I wouldn't do the oneer. Let's watch it. You see me in the window, in the reflection. And again, I'm just on a wheelchair here, operating on my shoulder. So we're canted almost the whole time, because it's me like on a wheelchair, canting. And again, the production design, because of this location, pulls such heavy weight in this short. I don't think it would look as good as it kind of mostly does if it weren't for the production design. Additionally, these sequences I shot on my instructor's set of Soviet vintage glass, which also pull very heavy weight. The whole thing feels very warm and sort of stylistic, because now we're in this portion that's supposed to be taking place within the person's mind, and I wanted it to feel really funky. So a lot of it does feel very funky because of these lenses and because of all this hard light that I'm blasting into people's faces. Let's continue. I think it's important to mention that I'm also pulling my own focus for most of this. The school I went to didn't exactly do the best job telling us what an assistant camera person does or is supposed to do. So I just thought that I needed to pull focus for myself, from what I remember. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry to whoever pulled focus for me, but I don't remember having I remember pulling off a little hand unit, not even a hand unit, just a manual follow focus that was on each lens. I'm thankful to have even that, otherwise it would have been going off the barrel. But operating and pulling focus at the same time is not exactly my favorite thing to do, but you'll see there are a lot of soft shots here. God, the wardrobe in this still, I think it holds up. I think it's really lovely. But again, look at these hard shadows from this hat, from his hair. Not how I would do it now. Light on her face is a little soft though. Because I remember I did have I had a pop-out diffusion card, essentially, that I would shine light through, and that would soften it. But look at my exposure levels on the people whose faces have hard light on them versus hers who has soft light. I had scrims. I could have scrimmed and gotten it all level at least. So at least even if some people had hard light, some people had soft light, at least it would have been equal. But I don't know. It adds variety. So this point is when the machine or whatever is controlling her mind is not functioning anymore and it's starting to break down. That's where that red light comes into play, the little kicker behind her. And I believe for that shot we took the zip off reflector side of that pop-out diffusion that I was talking about earlier, and we held it and had a light shining into the corner of the room that had a red gel on it, and then someone held in that reflector into the hard light so that at the beginning of the shot there's no hard light. It's just light shining in the corner of the room, so it's not really affecting the scene. And then when the reflector gets held in but taken off, so it's a little crinkly, and then they would manipulate it a little bit, and you can kind of see it in the shot where the red light, that little kicker, is shimmering on the back of her head. And I still like that. I like that trick. I think that's a lovely way to do things. It's very indie, and yet I still see it being done on real sets today. And then this shot that I've paused on here, this is the rest of the cast behind our main actor here, holding Christmas lights and just waving them. And we shot this high speed. I don't exactly know what we're trying to say per se in this shot, but I think it looks lovely. We've got some nice shape on her face with the red key, which is not shimmering in this shot, but it's just a nice, soft red light on the side of her face. And then we get this hard kicker from the opposite side of our key, which is still how I like to shoot things today. I like to flip opposite. So like we see here, I've got this key, which is just this lovely big window by me, and I don't really have a kicker here, but if I were, I would put it likely on this side if I can sort of motivate it by a lamp or something. But moving on. This basement set is funny to me because it's just like a rundown basement, and like his machine is just like a radio. I think the texture in these close-ups is really lovely. You get all these nice reflections off of the metal. It's really just like a colander, like a strainer being used for this contraption with all these wires snaking through it. We get lovely little reflections in the background and out of focus elements of these shots, which I think still holds up, and how these little lights act as our only light source creates this lovely shape in her face, which I think goes really nicely with what's going on here. God, this shot we struggled with so much because I wanted just nice soft light over everyone's faces. In hindsight, of all the shots for me to use soft light, this is a funky choice. Because I think for a wide, I'm okay with just blasting hard light just to get everyone exposed, right? Because you're not really looking at individual faces. But for all these close-ups, I'm blasting hard light into people's faces and getting disgusting triangles from the noses. And then for this shot, I decided, yeah, this will be the one where I use soft light. And the problem is, you can see my shower curtain that I hung from a couple of stands. You can see it in the reflection of the window, which in this shot to me really stands out. Probably to most, it wouldn't stand out that much. And when you're just watching the film, you probably wouldn't notice it. But to me, it does. Also, the hard shadow from that piano, just disgusting. Like, I'm using the soft light to illuminate people's faces, but hard light on that piano to create this disgusting shadow on the wall, not my favorite, but we live and learn. This shot, I'm happy with how I lit this. I would not really change how I would light it today. I think I've got a behind the scenes image of how I lit this. We've got, again, that fold out diffusion, which those things, they're so cheap and they pack down so small and you can hang them places. I still love those cards. They take up so little room, and if you're just like running around shooting things, they can be so useful, especially outdoors, but even for indoor situations like this. So we've got a nice, lovely, soft key. I had no fill light really. On the main actress's face, you get a little fill from her kicker. They each had an individual tungsten light that I used as kickers. You can really see it's pretty hot on the back of this man's head. Yeah, I'm happy with this shot for the most part. It feels a little canted because of that little shelf in the background. From what I remember, the room was canted, so it was kind of hard to get level on the camera, but even I like this shot, but some of these shots don't match each other in the grade, unfortunately, which I'm bummed about. And additionally, what's happening here, like she's going through something in her brain, I don't think it really came across in the final edit, unfortunately. Like, this knife replaces the cake on her plate randomly, and then you'll see what she does with it. She stabs this guy. This shot is the camera's on the ground looking up on this wide lens. I think this is a pretty lovely shot. We get this funky little flare flying through it, and it establishes what's happening here nicely. I think we should have gone more crazy with the sound design, but that's okay. Oh, and the fly flies through it. God, look at those gross shadows on her face. Too much hard light, too much. Can't remember, but I might have used this hard light intentionally just because things are getting funky. I don't know. I don't think I would have made that kind of choice at this point, but I like to think I would. I'm back to my stupid wide. No. This shot. Okay, this whole sequence, I decided to switch to an 85. And again, we're on a Super 35 sensor, so I'll have the equivalent full frame focal length on the screen here. I forget if it's like a 1.6 times crop factor or not, but this is a really long lens, and I decided to shoot this all handheld because we're so uneasy and things are awry, if you will. But this lens, this was the Jupiter 85, lovely lens, great texture. I think it like, look at these skin tones with tungsten light in these old lenses. I still think holds up really nicely. But these flares that are flying across the screen, these rainbow flares, are very fun. And then this happens. Like, what's going on? Things are weird. I'm honestly surprised with how stable I was able to keep those shots, because this was all shot on the Blackmagic Ursa Mini 4.6K, which has no sensor stabilization, which I don't like using sensor stabilization personally because I think it can fuck up your image, frankly. Yeah, this is a movie. I tell you what. Yeah, out of focus. I mean, I'm at like an f2 at 85 mil, handheld and pulling focus for myself, so all these shots are out of focus. But I don't know, because the dude is in focus and he's conscious, clear-headed, and she's out of focus, so I don't know. We call it a choice. Why not? Oh, we're back in focus. That's good. Nice job, Max. Lovely, shooting through stuff. Still do that. I think it's a great thing to add texture to your image. We're a little dark though. A little dark in this corner. She's getting a lot of backlight, but very little on her face. And then the red light comes back into play. There's literally just shooting through that window, as you can see. It's just someone turning it on and off, because again, it's just tungstens with gels in front of them. Whip pan, two separate shots, cut in the middle, whip pan. Not the real whip pan of Damien Chazelle, where it's literally whipping between them, because these are on different lenses too. I don't know if you noticed that, but I think it plays funky, you know? It's a very strange film, so all this like strange camera techniques that I'm using, I think it tells the story nicely. But again, look at all this hard light on his face. Look at these shadows on his nose, and you can see the reflection of the hard light in his glasses. I would have hid that reflection somewhere else, and the backlight is just, your kicker is just way too hot for what's going on here. I'm glad I'm motivating that kicker from that little practical on the wall there, which I would still do today, but it's too hot. I'd take it down like a stop and a half maybe. But again, funky movie, so maybe it all plays nicely. Who's to say? Another whip pan. She's getting toasted. And here we have yet another wheelchair dolly shot. I think the idea with that shot was there, but my execution is kind of bad. I think I've operated a whole lot more now, so I think I would be able to execute that much better. And again, I would prefer to do that on a dolly so that I have full control and I can sit somewhere and operate the camera on a head and be wheeled around rather than having camera on a shoulder. But when you can get a wheelchair on Facebook Marketplace for $5 or whatever, or I think someone just had this laying around. It's a free alternative to what is otherwise a several $1,000 rental. And it works, you know? If you can figure out how to operate the camera on your shoulder while being wheeled around, I think it's a great solution and something that everyone should have to go to. Holy shit, it just got bright in here. Oh, fuck me. That's not good. And something that everyone should have to go through at some point in their filmmaking careers. Here we go. Right. The full funky time. Those like couple of little close short shots were originally going to be this whole sequence. Maybe we get to it. I don't remember if it still happens. Where the whole room sort of is destroyed in her brain. Those couple of short shots that are now very short in the edit originally was a lot more intense. Holy shit, I gotta stop down. Wow, look at that. Look at that nice reflection in my eye. That's a lovely, lovely. This reminds me of that recent ad spot with Zendaya where they have 60 sky panels or whatever in this line, and we see this like cool curve on her eyeball. Love that. Anyway, back to this short. Those funky shots where like everyone, all of these oligarchs or whatever they're supposed to be around the table are going crazy and dancing and whatever. That was supposed to be this whole like multi-minute sequence, but we cut it down so much. And those shots, they took us many hours to achieve. So was it worth it? I don't know. I think they're cool, but if we would have known what we were actually going to use, because originally it was this whole like another long take, which took fucking forever, but live and learn once again. And now she dead. I don't mind these flashlight shots, they're fine. There's not a lot going on in them. She gets wheeled away. And this is kind of funny. We see that's just a tungsten Fresnel light. I don't even know the brand. They weren't even Mole Richardson. There was just some random light in the shot. And he puts the book down on the pile of the other artists' items and effects, and that's how we leave it. Up to, what do you think happened? I don't know. Leave a comment if you have any idea what the hell you just watched. Again, this was the first short that I shot that wasn't just like me and a couple buddies. This was it was a sizable group of us where I was serving as the director of photography and actually had crew to work with, and it was the first time I was delegating tasks to people, or at least attempting to, because none of us really knew what roles were supposed to be filled. No one knew how to effectively work those roles. So today I think we could get this done in a couple days, and they wouldn't have to be a 50 hours of shoot time, because I'm much more efficient now, and I work with people who also know what they're doing, and we've all evolved as filmmakers in our craft to better execute. But in terms of the final images, I would use a whole lot more soft light. I used way too much hard light just on people's faces. That's really the main thing. I think the set design and costumes and the fact that I was shooting on cool old lenses for the majority of it, as well as all of this tungsten light, I think did heavy lifting, because again, I think if I shot this all on LEDs, it would have looked a whole lot worse, but because of that, just the character and smooth color curve of tungsten light, I think that helped me out a lot. It's really interesting to look back at how I used to shoot things and compare it with how I shoot things now, and I think I have some of the same sensibilities. And obviously I'm not by no means the greatest cinematographer in the world. At this point in my career, I've only been doing it for apparently 3 years. It's fun to look back and see how I used to do things. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment down below about some of your first filmmaking experiences, and consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
you.